What's up guys, welcome back to Honest Cooks. Over the past several weeks, we've received a lot of views and comments on our restaurant style basmati rice video. If you were one of the viewers, thank you for watching. Among the appreciation for the video, we also got some quirky comments and realized that there was some confusion among the viewers about the rice to water ratio. And some folks were probably not satisfied that we poured out the flavor with the excess water. While we understand the sentiments behind the comments and concerns, we want to address the reasons behind the cooking method we opted for. And not only that, in today's video we will also talk about other varieties of rice and the best way to cook them. But before we get started, we want to let you know how thankful we are for each one of you who found us through the rice video and commented on it, even if you were critical. We truly appreciate you and we cannot wait to show you all that we have planned for the upcoming videos. And now, let's get started and talk about the obvious stuff first. In our restaurant-style basmati rice video, we wanted to showcase one of the many ways to make basmati rice and have your rice turn out exactly how most Indian restaurants serve them. So, we specifically target restaurant-style basmati rice, further narrowing our style towards Indian restaurants and the wonderful, long-grained, fluffy basmati rice that is served with curries. Keep in mind, there are multitude varieties of rice and our recipe cannot be applied to other types of rice. More on that later. Our basmati rice came out fluffy for a reason. And when I say fluffy, I mean this. Each grain is visually separate, bringing out a wonderful nice texture. Another reason this cooking method is popular in restaurants is because a lot of home kitchens in India also employ this practice. This method pours out the extra starch in the rice along with the water. Why would anyone want to take out the starch, you ask? Well, starch can make you drowsy, and frankly, in a culture where rice is eaten for lunch as much as it is eaten for dinner, hard-working farmers don't really have the luxury to nap after a starchy lunch. Unlike myself, who can shamelessly binge 6 different shows on my couch just before noon. Yes, Shameless is one of the shows I binge. You can, of course, skip the starch removal process if you like, but this process also helps get rid of the arsenic in the rice. I have an article linked in the description that talks more about this. If you're going that route, then a general rule of thumb is 1 cup of rice and 2 cups of water. Or, if you are more experienced with cooking rice, then using your fingers to measure the water should also work, as some people mentioned in the comments, but toes, however, do not help as much. Basmati rice is really perfect when it's not sticky. You can of course make them sticky, but that's not general practice. A well-made pile of basmati rice is aromatic, fluffy, each grain is separate and they all hold shape, but they're also soft and delicate to touch. I bet you've cooked rice several times and have had several types of end products with varying degrees of success. We've done this too. We've cooked rice in countless ways. We've rinsed it, soaked it, simmered it in carefully measured liquid, boiled it in a large pot of water. We've cooked it with and without a lid, tried all shapes and sizes of pots and pans, and we've invested in a specially designed rice cooker. With our trials and with a lot of research, we found a way to cook rice exactly how we want it. Each time, every time, any variety of rice. Very broadly speaking, there are 14 varieties of rice that are frequently used in most home kitchens and restaurants. These are divided into 3 categories based on the length of their grains: long grain, medium grain, and short grain. If we were to go into more detail, there are at least 50 rice varieties grown just within India. But these are not that commonly used on a regular basis. So today, we'll talk about the ones we most commonly use or see in modern home kitchens in the US as well as India. Cooking rice perfectly is simply a matter of choosing the right variety and the correct cooking method for the type of dish that you want to make. It's not rocket science, just a simple application of rice science. Rice science. Rinse. Let's go with that. Because there are broadly 14 varieties of rice and 3 categories of grains, there are at least 14 ways to cook rice, depending on what kind of grain you are cooking. But before we address the cooking methods, let's briefly discuss the 3 categories based on the size of the grain. Long-grain rice such as Basmati, Texmati, Jasmine or brown Basmati are fluffy, slender, aromatic, and the grains are separate and distinct when cooked. Some varieties of long-grain rice double in size when cooked properly. Short-grain rice, such as risotto rice, sushi rice, or glutinous rice, are small, tender, sometimes chewy, and sticky in texture. Medium-grain rice is the middle ground between the long and the short grain. Paella rice is a prime example of medium-grain rice. The grain is tender when cooked, somewhat sticky, and is in between long and short grain in size. Let's move on to cooking now. Cooking method largely depends on what type of grain you're using. It's a good practice to rinse your rice before cooking it, which helps get rid of the polish and pesticides on the grains if they were present. Rinsing also gets rid of the surface starch, so when you cook the rice, they're not gummy and the water is less foamy. After rinsing, you have the option of soaking your rice. While soaking is not mandatory, it's definitely recommended. Scientifically speaking, soaking rice gets rid of most of the phytic acid present in the grains. Phytic acid is found in plants, and in plants, it serves the purpose of storing phosphorus in the seeds. But in humans, it stops the absorption of minerals. Soaking rice in water removes the phytic acid. In terms of what soaking does for the cooking process, is that it hydrates the grain before it is exposed to heat. How is this helpful? Well, a sushi chef I used to work with once told me that this type of hydration of grains causes surface cracks on a microscopic level, which then gives a better end product. However, soaking is optional, and if you're making risotto or pilaf, for example, soaking is not required. Instead, you would toast the rinsed and drained rice in fat. Toasting not only gives a nutty flavor to the dish, but it also creates a shell around each grain. This allows the grain to slowly absorb moisture without getting soggy or bursting open like popcorn. Alright, once the rice is rinsed and soaked or toasted, we move on to the cooking process, which differs with the type of dish that you're making. A core question to ask here is, what am I making this rice for? This is important to ask because, say for example, if you were making basmati rice but you were making biryani with it, you would not use the water removal process. You would instead use the soaking and steaming process. Speaking of which, we've been testing out a very easy to follow biryani recipe. Updates on the trial are on our Instagram page, so if you don't already follow us, find us on Instagram and feel free to stalk us. Back to the rice in my hands here. Broadly speaking, rice is either boiled, simmered, rinsed and steamed, or soaked and steamed. And then there are 2 distinctly different ways of making paella and risotto. Each of these will be an individual video very soon. Boiling method is what we showed in our how to cook restaurant style basmati rice video. In this method, we rinse the rice in cold water. There's a proper way to do this so you don't break the grains. You gently scrub it in between your palms without mushing it, and when you're confident enough, you can replicate this with just one hand. After rinsing, you can choose to soak your rice, or you can head over to the stove and start cooking it. To cook the rice, we will add ample amount of water to the pot, make sure it's room temperature water, and then season your rice and cover it to bring it to a boil. When it starts to boil, remove the lid and stir it gently once or twice. You'll know the rice is cooked when the grain is long and changes color from translucent white to opaque white. Simmering is when you cook rice with an exact quantity of water at a specific heat level. This is something you do when making biryani or Spanish rice. You can also make most long grain varieties with this method. The time and water quantity will vary based on the variety that you're using. We've compiled a chart or a cheat sheet with 14 rice varieties that we're talking about today, and we have a printable version on our website available for a free download. You can print it and stick it on the fridge, and it can be your quick cheat sheet to cooking perfect rice each and every time. And just for that, please drop a like on this video if you find our free downloadable rice cheat sheet useful. Rinsing and steaming is mainly for sushi rice, There's tons of great sushi rice videos on YouTube. I will link one of my all-time favorites in the description below. They are from the channel called How to Make Sushi. We're nearing the end here, and like all good meals, we will close with something sweet. Delicious sticky rice with sweet mango. Yes, glutinous rice, a short grain variety which is cooked using the last cooking method that we will discuss today. Soaking and steaming is for short grain glutinous rice, which is used for rice puddings and rice-based desserts. To ensure the grains cook and absorb moisture evenly, sticky rice first needs to be rinsed and soaked in room temperature water at least overnight. When you rinse and soak it overnight and then you steam it, the grains of glutinous rice become tender but also maintain a distinct chewiness. And that's all, folks. Congratulations, you're now officially a rice ninja. You've just learned how to cook 14 varieties of rice. We really hope you got something out of this video. As you can see, we got a lot out of it. A literal boatload of cooked rice and not enough people to eat all of this rice. So thank you for staying with us while we consume nothing but rice for the rest of this year. Don't forget to download the free rice cheat sheet, link in description. And if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Honest Cooks and let us know you've subscribed in the comments below. We have many more such videos in the pipeline and your support is what keeps us going. Thank you so much for watching and as always, have a lovely day.